everybody, it's Romania Black, and it's been a little while since Frieren Beyond Journey's End. When the last season, aka the first season, started, I did not watch week to week with you all. I was catching up, and so it's been 2 years for you all since this series started. It's not quite been 2 years for me, but it's felt like 2 years. It's felt like a long time. It's at least been a year though, so we are back with season 2, and I'm really, really excited. So, okay, one thing I do want to note, and I think I'm correct on this before we get started, I have a couple things I want to say. First of all, this has not been spoiled to me by anybody on the channel. As I was gearing up for this season, I was starting to mute everything, get everything out. But you know what? Technology kind of sucks sometimes. And sometimes when you get onto Google or a search engine, like a thing pops up and you're like, oh, I wish I hadn't saw that. I think if I immediately was like, don't read anymore. But I think I saw that this season is only like 10 episodes, maybe 10, 11, or 12. So season 1 was 28 episodes, technically 24 because the first couple were like bunched together. So this one's only like 10 or 12 episodes. One of the two. I'll figure it out. I'll ask the mods about it, so don't worry, but that's fine. I'm more of a quality over quantity type of person. I would rather a studio not crank out 28 episodes if like half of them look like garbage than to focus on 10 episodes or 12 episodes and make them look amazing. So I would rather do quality over quantity. That's just how I am all the time. I would rather that. I'm not a binge person that's like, oh, give me 30 episodes. I'm like, give me 12 that are quality, and then I'll wait a year or two, and then we get 12 more that are quality, and that'll make it worth it. So we'll just go from there. I could be wrong. They might add more. This might be the first core of a 2-core season, and we get the other 10 to 12 episodes later on in the fall or something. I don't know. We'll find out as we go. I'm not worried about that, but there will be a link down below to the reaction, and then we will come back afterwards and we'll talk about it, right? So, to be honest, it has been a hot second since I have been watching Frieren. I have been keeping up our channel over on the Discord. We've been sharing fan art of Stark and Fern and Frieren, and mainly it's been Frieren and Himmel and just wallowing in the angst, but I really, really liked Frieren Beyond Journey's End. It was kind of my first dabble before Delicious in Dungeon, before a couple other series, into like a high fantasy environment. I really enjoy that. Some people may think high fantasy is subjective. We'll see. But I really enjoyed that first season, and I'm excited to dive into this second one with you all. My dog, as you can hear him, is begging me to throw a toy to him, even though I've done this to him the last hour. So what can we do? But just quick thing, forewarning, if you didn't join me for season 1, I have a whole playlist of my season 1 reactions. I was experimenting with how to do those reactions back then. Now they're just gonna be the link down below. We'll come back to the discussion. Whiteboard Coon is off in the wings. He may join us. If Whiteboard Coon does not join us, I'll be using screenshots to go over what the episode entails. That's my new thing this year. New year, new me. We're doing that. So that's kind of where we're going to be going. But please note in the comments down below, I am anime only. I have not read the manga. I know nothing about the manga. Please, if you are going to include any manga spoilers, if you are going to talk about things that Romania is going to discover in this arc or in future arcs, or if you're going to be talking about hints and clues, or if I miss something that is likely to happen, please spoiler tag it. Be like, spoilers, don't read Romania, and then skip like 6 lines and then tell everybody else about it and be like, what a crazy coup. Can you believe this girl? She missed that. Like, just do that down below. Also, please be respectful. We are a safe community here. We're going to fangirl and fanboy, fan they, them out about this series, and it's going to be a hoot and a holler, and I'm really excited about it. So I don't know what to expect. When we last left off, we cleared the exam, the world hath opened up, and now we're going to see where Stark and Fern and Frieren go from here. I have no clue, but we're about to have a 24-minute episode to find out, and I will not lie to you all, I have been waiting for weeks and weeks and weeks. As soon as I found out it was coming out in January, it has been a long-ass wait until we get to this episode, but I'm excited to be here. I'm going to throw this to Huckleberry, my dog. Hopefully he won't be asking me to throw it anymore this episode, but we're not going to waste any more time. We are going to dive into Frieren Beyond Journey's End, episode 2, y'all. And we're going to start here in 3, 2, 1, and let's do it to it, Lars. So we're back. Oh, it feels so good. It feels like we never left. It feels like we never left Frieren. It's been so long, and it feels like I had to go get myself some dinner, some hot tea, then come back and sit down and talk to you all about this episode, because it feels like we never left. And that's such a good feeling. Oh my gosh. Oh, I love it. I live. So yes, this episode was great. Somehow Frieren manages to be like, it finds a way to be so subtle and so just straightforward and genuine and honest, but it doesn't ever feel like the symbolism and themes are there, and if you're watching, you pick them up really easily, and you're like, oh yeah, that's what it is. But it never feels preachy. It never feels like it's heavy-handed, or it's like, now make sure you get this theme. It all just, if you've watched season 1, things start to all hit you at once as you're watching, and it's so natural and organic, and it just, I've missed this show. This show felt so comforting. This episode felt so comforting, and I just, I've missed Frieren. I really have. And I didn't realize how much until I got into this episode. So we're going to start it. I'm going to be showing y'all some screenshots as we go, because I feel like that's the best way for y'all to know exactly where I'm talking about as we discuss this. But we're going to look at that here in 3, 2, 1. So this episode starting out, I'm going to turn the sound off to get us on the road. I do like the little bookend of seeing the grave marker with the 2 apples and the bread, like the offering, and the sun and the moon showing the passage of time of that person's life. And again, just in this one moment, you have the wheat getting ready for harvest, like the time of harvest, the time of autumn, the seasons changing. And then you have the dandelions that are there, and dandelions they bloom for a certain amount of time, and then they're gone. And then they plant new seeds that will erupt new plants otherwhere, showing the cycle of life. And in this one little screenshot, there's already like little bits of symbolism, and they could have picked a lily or a rose or a daisy, but they picked a dandelion, and it all feels intentional, and I love that. I also like the idea of the pathway where it's a road, and even though it's like a wagon train, it is technically 2 paths, which is kind of, I'm digging probably too far into it, but it almost seemed like a little foreshadowing of Stark possibly going a different direction than Frieren and Fern. We didn't have that happen though, so that's fine. And then, yeah, the moment I saw this shot, I was like, oh, and the animation was gorgeous. I was like, yeah, we're fine. Because I'm going to be honest with y'all, I worry sometimes because the internet, fandoms need to learn. And this is my little gripe for the episode. Fandoms need to learn a little bit of patience. I know we live in a TikTok generation where it's instant gratification and we want everything handed to us whenever we want it, and we want it snappy and fast because we don't have the attention span to keep up. But y'all, some people in the fandom need to learn a little patience, because would you rather have shit out in a year, or wait a little longer and get quality work from quality artists? And I'm not talking about AI slop. I'm not talking about just shit that was put together at the last minute that's not finished. Let people cook. Let them simmer. Honestly, I've built up more hype for this series, and like Jujutsu Kaisen Season 3, I've built up so much hype over the years that the energy is infectious. And when you wait for something and it comes out and it's good, it's so satisfying. Versus, I've watched a few shows on this channel. Y'all probably know which ones they are, but they were rushed to get that product out, and it just, you can feel like that, like, oh, it could have been better, you know? And so it's like you can't please the fandom. They're either going to be, some people in the fandom are like, hurry up and get it out, and then when it's not quality, they're like, well, why is it shit? And it's like, well, 1 + 1 = 2, friend. I don't know if you did elementary school math, but that's how it works. But Anyway, that's my soapbox, and I'm glad they took their time and made this series look amazing because the animation quality is so good, especially the OP and the ED. Oh, so glad on that one. So yeah, so everybody's on their way. Here we go. And this felt very Lord of the Rings. It felt very Hobbit, just like the slow fade into the title, Frieren Beyond Journey's End. Love that. I was wondering if we were going to get an OP in this episode because it kind of just fades in. We do. There were parts of the OP I didn't watch because they seemed like they were hinting at things to come. So we'll just keep that in mind. I like being surprised as I watch. But anyway, so as we go, we're going to get through that they're going along the way and we're talking about getting some cold hard cash. And I made the joke that we were going to make Stark become a stripper. Sir, are you comfortable with male escorting? Be progressive, Stark. Come on. But I do appreciate that this series is a little bit realistic. They're like, look, we're going to need money if we're going to get anywhere. And we're going to have to look for some work. Like, I like that we're getting down to the pennies, getting down to skimping and saving. And there's 3 of us. So the thing is, our 3 heroes here are pretty OP in terms of their skill sets. So I think they'll be all right. Like, if anything, Stark can do some, he can do some odd jobs around, And Stark's like, wow, you're already thinking about that, Fern. And yet Fern thinks ahead. Fern, it's really a cool comparison because Frieren has lived so long, she's just like, whatever, we'll get there. It'll be fine. Everything's okie dokie. Because she's lived for so long, she doesn't have to worry about it. She knows things will work out. But with Fern, I like that her mortality gives her a sense of urgency. That she's like, no, we need to plan now. We need to get ahead of things. We need to plan before winter. We need to do X, Y, and Z. Fern is a woman after my own heart. I'm an over-organizer and a hyper ahead-of-time planner. So I'm with Fern. It's better to be prepared and things go awry than to not be prepared and be scrambling like a chicken with its head cut off. She's like, unless we take and think 2 steps ahead, our journey will come to a premature end. I'm very curious who the thinker was, the planner. I'm assuming Hader was the planner with them because Ison seems very Stark-like. Frieren didn't care. Himmel might have been like Fern. But I feel like Himmel and Hader were probably the planners of the original party. And then she's like, I hope we can find something suitable. And that's when Frieren's like, oh. She's like, this feels familiar. Girl. So this old man was adorable. He reminded me of Himmel. Go back to that. My little thing timed out. This man was really adorable. He reminded me of Himmel. And he's like, what does he talk about there? I want to bring this up real quick. He says, it was reassuring to have a first-class mage along. He's like, I don't have to worry about any problems along the way with you here. And he talks about them going to End. Which, interesting that he's talking about it because he's an elder man. So, I wonder if he thinks about that place too. And then I liked this line here where he says, to those of us who never travel far from home, he says that it sounds like an unimaginably long journey. That felt so familiar because I'm from a very small rural area, very much like the Shire. And so when people talk about going away, they imagine it's this big, long distance and it seems impossible, but it's really not. And Frieren kind of knows that from her own experience, but she knows not to say anything. She's like, no, it's fine. So then we get this OP. Damn, this OP is so good. This opening shot of Frieren in the flower field with the light. Y'all didn't have to go this hard on this OP, but you did. The songs are really good. I love that the Edie song. Oh, it's beautiful. The Edie song got me a little emotional when the first couple bars came out. I was like, ooh, this is, because I recognized it was Millet, and I was like, oh, this is the same artist. It felt nostalgic and new at the same time. Loved it. So yeah, and I also like the fact at the very beginning we get the party, all the adventures with Hader and Himmel and Ison and Frieren, that's all super cute. And it's super cute up until the part where you realize it's the funeral that she's going through. And then she picks up the blue petal that's Himmel's. Also, I love the idea of at the very end, she's holding the flower petals that are also those for Stark and Fern. Frieren is the best granny / wing woman. She's like, look, I didn't get a chance at love. I made some mistakes. I'm going to make sure that you two dum-dums don't make those same mistakes. So let's get on that. What I kind of want to happen, and this is like a headcanon I've been thinking about, is if they get to end and Himmel's ghost gets to reunite with Frieren and there's this big moment. I want Stark and Fern to see that, and for them I want that to be the realization that they like each other and that they're like, oh, what are we doing? We don't need to squander time or we're going to end up like Grandma and her dead boyfriend. We need to not waste time on that. So I'm hoping that when they get to end, if they get to end, I think they'll get to end, that's going to be what happens, because this is so cute. I love that. So it's been 29 years since the death of Himmel the hero. Frieren keeps track based on how many years it's been since the love of her life that she didn't realize until it was too late had passed. And they're in the Somme marshes in the northern lands. So we're starting to get into the northern lands, which we know are ran by several demons. I love Stark. He's so relatable and he's so sweet, and bless his heart, he's having a hard time fishing. As we can see, he only has that tiny little fish and he practically gets a little sardine. I feel for him. Bless his heart, he's trying. He's good with an axe. He's good with his hands. Fishing rod, not so much. He's like, but at least we have a mushroom and some salad. Here we go. And Fern's like, okay. He's like, look, I can't work with magic. This is the best I can do. Help me out here, girl. Meanwhile, Frieren has no time to scavenge for things like food and necessities when there's possible ruples and other magical gems that could be in the area. Mm-hmm. Let me say, this concept of there being gemstones that neutralize magic is so intriguing. It's such a cool concept. I'm going to be real with you all. This gemstone looks straight out of the original Nintendo Legend of Zelda. It looks like something you would gather to trade for a bow and arrow. That's exactly what it looks like. I'm thinking of the 1989-90 Legend of Zelda game. That's what it looks like. That's what I grew up with. So I'm like, yeah, that's what it is. I think it's a cool bit of foreshadowing. Again, Frieren is a very well-written show, so everything ties into itself. It all ties together so nicely. And the fact that we see this gemstone, I was like, wow. Whenever Frieren said that this was rare and that one of those could buy a mansion, I was like, why is it in the middle of the woods? And then that leads us to the cave where it's everywhere. And it's like, okay, that's the continuity. That's the connection we're looking for. But it's an intriguing thought. The fact that it's a literal double-edged sword. You could buy so much money with those gems, but at the same time, you don't get to use any magic. And this land that you're in is pretty dependent upon you using magic. So look, I didn't bring out Whiteboard Coon for this episode because I didn't see it was entirely necessary, but I want to point out something very interesting in that there is kind of I kept thinking of this like capitalist kind of thought to it, that when we get to the caverns, I'll explain it more because then I can tie out my thoughts, but it's sort of like the rat race of it all, right? Now, honestly, I think that if you were someone like Stark, and this little scene was really cute where she just hands him here. It was really adorable. If you were Stark, this wouldn't bother you because you don't have magic anyway. You're just relying upon your strength. So having a bunch of these stones would be perfectly fine. Fern doesn't like it because Fern can't use her magic, and Fern has become quite reliant upon her magic, which I think is something that we may discuss in this season or later on in the series. Fern is very dependent upon her magic. So is Frieren, for the record. But I feel like that in itself warrants them needing someone like Stark or other people that are non-magic in their party to balance it out in case if the time comes where you can't use magic like this, how are you going to defend yourselves? Because honestly, Frieren and Fern were pretty defenseless in this episode, and it put a lot of burden on Stark, which he's just one dude. They need more in their party again. At least somebody else, right? Because back in the day, Himmel couldn't use magic. Ison couldn't use magic. I think, Hader could heal and do shields and stuff, and Frieren was a mage. But you kind of need it to be balanced. So we need somebody else in our party that is not magical. And when we're going to find that and how we're going to find that is, where's Ubel? Is Ubel around? Is she around? Can she join? No, that'd be chaos. And poor Stark, he would die. So anyway, she's like, a pebble-sized crystal is worth several gold pieces. With that, you could probably buy a mansion. Which my theory was, here's what you do. If you want to get into town, you're really close to town. So just have Stark keep a hold of that, have him stand 4 meters back at all times, and just walk that way and just slowly make your way towards the town. You got it made till you turn it in. But as we saw, that didn't pan out with the trap that was set before on the mountain, but you could have made it work. I'm arguing you could have made it work. If you had planned it out, you could have made it work. But Frieren doesn't care about becoming rich and having a mansion. Girl don't care. She's immortal. Fern is not really caring about becoming rich. She just wants enough money for them to survive and be able to move forward. And money is a double-edged sword. If you got a lot of it on you, you're a target. If you just have enough to survive, you're not so much of a target. So, and Stark doesn't seem very greedy. So anyway, they're like, it's really interesting. And if you imbue the stones with lots of mana, it becomes this blinding light. I like the Fern just hates it. She's like, just throw it away already. When they left it as they were going away and you saw the big light, it's a nice bit of foreshadowing to how they escape the monster in the caverns later on. But also I wondered if it was a beacon to kind of lure monsters towards the light and away from them, like a strategy of trying to mitigate running into a monster. I mean, it would be a pretty good idea. So yeah, they go past this, they're talking about getting past the forest in this volcanic area, and Stark's like, well, that sounds kind of dangerous. Don't want to be a part of that. And she's like, oh, it'll be fine. It really isn't. There hasn't been an eruption in centuries. Don't jinx this, Frieren. Don't jinx this. Let's please not jinx this for us. I thought we were getting the hot springs episode. I was really excited about that. Guess we're going to have to wait on that. A warm bath does sound appeasing. We're going to talk about that in a hot second. But yeah, what was the thing with, so this part here, you can kind of see where it's sort of dipped down. There's a depression there. And the little squirrel kind of runs around it. And then they realize, yeah, where that depression is where there's like a sinkhole. And then the ground here, that's when it sinks in. So then we get to the cavern, and as they're floating for a second, it's an underground cave. But then they slowly start to sink, and they realize it's because there's a giant deposit of these magic neutralizing crystals. The existence of these is so fascinating to me. I think it's a cool world building thing. It establishes a lot of things. One, it brings up the idea that there may be people that they face in the future who have these crystals and may imbue them into weapons, may imbue them into their outfits, because just holding the crystal, if you're close to someone using magic, they can't use magic. So if I were someone this is kind of the double-edged sword of it. If you think about it, if you were someone super strong, you'd have to be somebody like Stark, who is physically very strong, could defend themselves without magic, didn't need to use the magic. If I were somebody like Stark and I wasn't traveling with Fern or Frieren, but I was on my own, I would line my vest with the crystals. I would bedazzle the shit out of it. I would be having a big old crystal brooch. I would be having it in my hair. I would be making sure that those crystals were all over me so that magic couldn't be used while they were around me. And I won't be surprised, since we've set it up in this episode, I won't be surprised if some demons, perhaps, I could see a weak demon that's not very strong, that doesn't have a lot of power anyway, and would have died anyway, using the crystals in their weapons or their clothing or their helmet to try and get to where a magic user would have no power, and then they could take advantage and kill them instead. I feel like since they're setting it up, it's going to come back at some point, and we need to keep track and remember it, but we'll see. Also, I thought it was kind of a cool metaphor. What I was talking about earlier is it's kind of a metaphor of, the first thing I thought of is those giant columns of neutralizing crystals. I'm like, you'd be a billionaire. They even say it in the episode. They're like, oh, if you had this, you would literally be its entire cave filled with the magic nullifying crystals. If we brought it all back with us, we'd be billionaires. The thing that is kind of cool in terms of being a metaphor is you can't. It kind of speaks a little bit to the impossibility of it, that I think it's a cool metaphor, and I don't know if the show is intending to do this, but it made me think of the idea that becoming a billionaire is a possibility in this world. It is a possibility to be that wealthy. However, the probability of it happening is practically impossible. Like, of all the billions of people in the world, how many are billionaires? Not that many. The statistics are really against you. And like this cave, sure, theoretically, you could take all of these crystals out and become a billionaire, but how likely is it that that's going to happen? You know? So I thought it was kind of a cool metaphor of how things are possible in this world, but it's not always probable that it's going to happen. I thought that was a cool kind of little callback to that. But yeah, she's like, it's one of the hardest materials in existence. So like tougher than diamonds, basically. It can't be cut or processed using magic. Which again, I think is interesting. I like this world is establishing that not everything is going to be solved or handled by magic as the strongest force. That there is a need for non-magic in this world, and there's a way for non-magic to carve out a place within it. I think that's really cool. And poor Stark tries to use his axe to chop into the gemstones, but it just doesn't work. And that's when Frieren says some things are simply out of humanity's reach. Yep, I feel like this is Cave of Wonders-esque. Like, yes, you want all the riches, you want all the gemstones, but how feasible is it for you to get it? You know, and maybe instead of like, you could imagine someone like the animal skeletons in there. We only saw animal skeletons, but I could imagine someone wasting their life trying to carve out greedily as many of these stones as they could and end up dying in the process. It's like the guy in the Mummy movie back in the 90s, the guy in the Mummy movie that tried to like steal all the gems and stuff and then didn't work out well for him. So, you know, or like the guy in Jurassic Park that tries to steal the dino DNA. Doesn't work out for him. It's kind of like a universal karma. So they're not climbing out, and Frieren's like, well, Stark, you are basically going to be the one to save us this episode. Which, this episode's really fun in the sense that it is, usually when you start out a new season of a show, they have to spend time like reestablishing the characters, reestablishing what they do, and they kind of they do all of that in this episode without calling attention to it, like having Frieren be the old mage, and they kind of establish her age and everything like that. And Fern's characteristics kind of come out in this. And Stark, we use this episode to establish how he wants to run away, but he doesn't because of how much he's grown since season 1. So it was really nice. It was a really nice way of doing it. I liked it. I thought that was really effective overall. So yeah, it's like, since we can't use magic, we're just ordinary girls here. Frieren is practically Drew Barrymore from Never Been Kissed. Or she's not Drew Barrymore, she's Steve Buscemi coming out with a skateboard like, hello, fellow kids, from the SNL version. Like, it's so funny. Frieren's just like, we're just these girlios here. And Stark's like, girl? And she's like, if you call me an old hag, you will be crawling on your hands and knees out of here. I haven't forgotten you've called me an old hag, Stark. And he's like, help me, please. Poor Stark. Stark caught a lot of strays. That's why we need to find a fourth party member so that Stark can't catch so many strays. We need our boy to get, we need him to get a little bit of a breather, right? This was really super cute. Like, Frieren carrying her little suitcase and getting across, Fern doing the little tightrope walk. Like, this was adorable. I thought this was done really, really well. Also, another super creepy element of this that I think is really cool world building is the glowing mushrooms, because the crystals, the magic nullifying crystals, are a mineral. They are part of the environment that's natural. They're not synthetic. So over time, it is likely that the mushrooms have drawn in some of those crystals from the ground, and that's why they glow blue. So my thing was, I'm like, if you eat those blue mushrooms, is your magic going to be nullified until you digest and process that? That opens up a whole other can of worms. Like, what if people create food like this and give it to magic users and they can't use magic for like 24 hours. That's wild, but that could happen. It's literally kryptonite. It's crazy to think about that. So yeah. And then they get through this cave. They've gotten to where they need to get out. And meanwhile, they're fishing, trying to figure out how they're going to get out of there. And then they decide to spend the night there. And that's when they find all the animal bones and everything else. So I think Frieren looks adorable sleeping like she is. It's super cute. Also, seeing Frieren sleep like that did give me a little bit of ease because I'm like, okay, Frieren would be on alert if something was truly dangerous. I know she said she trusts Stark in this episode and she's like, I trust you. You'll make the right decision. But let's be real. So if there was really danger, I think she would be worried about it. What's interesting is that Fern is the one that's kind of freaking out. And Fern freaking out is she kind of withdraws within herself. She doesn't like panic, but she withdraws and gets really quiet. And she's like, and for Fern, it's kind of relatable. She's always had her magic to defend herself and she's always been trained to use it. And to not have it puts her in this big vulnerable position. And she's like, there might be a large monster here. And you can tell she's genuinely concerned, not just for herself, but for Frieren's sake and for Stark's sake as well. Although Frieren just being carefree there is great. She's literally Yoda. She's Yoda from Empire Strikes Back, honestly. And Fern and Stark are both Luke Skywalker. It's like Frieren seems to be having fun. I mean, she's been through some difficult things herself. When she said that it scared her, though, the romantic in me wanted Stark to, like, put his arm around her or to, like, give her a little tap or a touch or something comforting. Stark does what he needs to do by just standing there and talking to her. He does enough. He doesn't have to. It's just the romantic in me wanted that little teensy bit more, but I was getting a little greedy myself, so it's fine. But you can tell that this is really important. Just Fern having these conversations with Stark, just her being vulnerable and sharing what she's scared of. Again, it pays off because later on, when they're outside the inn, because Fern has been vulnerable around him, he feels like it's okay to be vulnerable back. And that's really sweet. I love that. I like that callback and I think it works really well. But her saying it feels like I've been plunged into total darkness. Also, I think if something happens in the future and Fern or Frieren end up in this situation where they can't use magic, Stark now knows what they believe that feels like. So he'll be able to help, hopefully give some advice or offer something that will help them feel more alleviated. So then, yeah, their little concerned faces. No, it's so sad. They're just kids, y'all. But this venomous monster shows up. We get reminded that Stark has been poisoned before. Stark just grabbing Frieren. Frieren's like, oh, I trust you'd come. And he's like, I really wish you'd be a little more cautious, Frieren. But yeah, I'm glad that she's like, this is a bad matchup for you. And I like the lesson that we learn in this moment because Stark's whole fear is that he doesn't want to run away. But Frieren kind of establishes, she's like, look, there are going to be some times where running away is not a bad thing. If you're up against something that you know isn't good, it's a nice subtle lesson that you can kind of make meta in a sense, because what Frieren's trying to tell him in this moment is, yes, running away when you shouldn't is a bad thing. However, there are some battles, some people that you just need to walk away. You need to run away, walk away from, be like, now's not the time. This is not the place. I'm not a good matchup against this. I need to just leave. And there's no shame in that because I think Stark has felt all this shame with feeling the pressure to run away and trying to combat that Frieren's like, yeah, I get that. Cool. When that happens and it's warranted, sure. But right now, there's only one of you. We can't help you. And if you get poisoned, you're no good to us. So we probably need to run away. She's like, what are we supposed to do? She's like, I trusted that you had this. She's like, I recruited you to be a frontliner. Parties don't function otherwise. And he's like, well, I'm a man who flees during critical moments. Like, you can tell Stark is really upset about this. He doesn't like the fact that he knows he runs away. And he's like, I don't need to run away when things are important like this. And he's like, I'm desperate to run away right now. And Frieren's like, are you? Then let's do it together. And she's like, close your eyes. We got this. I like that Frieren's like, if your gut is telling you to run away, let's not ignore that. If your gut is telling you that it's time to run, that sometimes isn't a bad thing. And as long as we can go with you, here, she's like, basically, there is a difference between running away without us and running away with us. There's a huge difference. If you leave us behind and run away and we're doomed, yeah, feel bad about that. That's a really crappy thing to do. But if we're all together in this and we decide to run together, there's nothing wrong with that. If that means we get to live to fight another day, sure. And I love that she does the callback where she blinds the monster. And then we get this flashback, which is so good. Where it's like, Himmel, how can you trust me with your life? And Ison, I like that now Frieren is remembering all of these things and she's connecting Ison to Stark. And it's so sweet. She's like, you shouldn't just say that out of nowhere. Himmel's so damn perfect. Can we just, this show, this mangaka is so damn cruel to give us the best character in the show. And he's already freaking dead. Post-mortem best character. That's not fair. Why are you doing that, show? How dare you? No! I don't like it. And then Stark's little face. Look at Ison's little face. I mean, so cute. So cute. So yeah. So then he's like, well, I abandoned my village and fled. Which is exactly what Stark was about to do. And Himmel's like, if you feel like running, let's run away together. So Frieren got it all from Himmel. Like, come on now. And he's like, and after all, we're a party. We move together. And then it shows them fighting this big ass dragon, which, can we talk about the animation and everything in this scene? Amazing. Also, in this shot here, he's like, if we have to run, we'll run together. So you can see Ison and Himmel with his sword out, ready to go. Hader's ready to go. Frieren's whole arm has been burnt, which is crazy that her arm is healed over time. That's crazy. Her arm was burnt and charred in that moment. That's crazy. So she's kind of down and out. The dragon animation was amazing. And then I love that shot of him jumping, Himmel jumping over the flames, and then Ison coming in and blocking it with his axe. Oh my God. And then there's Hader. In my memory, I was trying to think that Hader was watching Himmel, but no, Hader is trying to heal Frieren in this moment and protect her. They work so well together. It's so good. And then the place is about, I love that piece of the ceiling was about to fall on Hader and Frieren in this moment. And then, Himmel jumped in and grabbed her, and Ison threw Hader out of the way. I was like, my shipper heart. My shipper heart could not be contained in this moment. That Ison just, and of course, Stark is like Ison. Fern is like Hader. And then you have Himmel, just the only man for Frieren. There is no one else for Frieren like this. Sai wish he was. He wishes he was, but no. It's so good. It's so damn good. And then, the animation was so just bitchin' in this. I loved it so much. And then Himmel's like, all right. I like that they look, and Himmel's like, okay, Ison can't handle the dragon. Let's go. And so Himmel he just picks her up. I love that he doesn't say anything. He doesn't say anything. Himmel, you suffering man. You man that suffered for so many years with being this unrequited love. He just doesn't even think about it. He just picks her up. And he's like, yep, let's go, yoink. Just grabs her and says, let's go on. And he's like, shall we run? And then there they go. I love that Hader has Ison on his back, and Himmel has Frieren one-handed over his shoulder. Shut the frick up. Shut up, sir. And that cut from He's like, I'm a priest. Why do I have to carry the heavy one? It's so good. So good. And Himmel's like, I'm the hero. Sorry. The light one says you stink of liquor. Himmel's like, sorry, I get the girl. That's me. Himmel's like, you carry the love of your life. I'll carry the love of my life. Deal. And this cut from Frieren, who back then wasn't registering in her elf brain about all of this. And then we cut to the present time with the monster. I love that you go from the hot lava and the red tones to the cool blue tones underground. Yep. And he's scared. Also, can we talk about the fact that Stark is carrying not only Fern over his shoulder, but dragging Frieren along as well? Stark's doing the job of both of those men. The power of this man. And then as he's going, I love that Frieren smiles. She's like, this is like before. I feel for Stark. We need another person on this team. I don't care if they're man, woman, dwarf, monster, don't care. As long as we balance it out, because Stark's doing some heavy lifting. We got to get this guy some relief. Bless his heart, he's like, I can't walk. She's like, well, that was fun. Isn't running away together isn't so bad, is it? I liked when Frieren was like, that was scary, as she's like smiling, and the two of them are like, like, are you kidding me? Yeah. She's like, all right, let's go, shall we? Shall we go then? Is exactly what Himmel said in that flashback. I can't, y'all. I can't. My soul cannot. And Stark's like, I can't walk anymore. So I like to imagine that they just lifted Stark up, that Fern lifted him up using her wand, and he just floated alongside them. I'd like to imagine that. So 29 years after the death of Himmel the hero, and in the great Samft forest located in the northern lands. If you had told me we were going to immediately see people that we had seen before, I wouldn't have believed you. So Stark goes to catch some stuff, doesn't get any food, such as fish. He's like, I'll catch a big one today, but there is some greens, at least, if they need it. Meanwhile, our ladies are bathing. I'm with Frieren. That is freaking cold. Nope. I would be a nasty person in the Middle Ages. I guess you'd get used to it, but I would be a nasty person because cold baths and showers. Nope. So I do love that Fern treasures all of her trinkets, her three main ones. She has the wooden necklace that Hader gave her. She has, or that her parents gave her. I can't quite remember. It's one of the two. And then she has the bracelet from Stark, and she has the hairpin from Frieren. Those are like her treasures. The mirrored lotus bracelet. And I like that at first Fern doesn't want to talk about the lotus bracelet because she doesn't want to acknowledge how much it means to her. So she's like, oh, but also you got me this hairpin. See, I don't just like Stark. That'd be weird. I like you too, Fern, as friends. Yes, as friends. And it is nice to see Fern smiling. It's nice to see her in good spirits, right? She's like, I'm glad to gain more things that are important to me. This was super cute. Then, of course, Stark shows up and he's like, oh. He's like, I'm just fishing. I like that Fern's like, you pervert. And he's like, you both were dressed. I'm sorry. Maybe tell me next time which pond you're going to so I don't sneak up on you. Also, Stark is absolutely a sweetheart. He's just like, I'm so sorry. Like, I freaking love Stark. He's so sweet. I love him. And I love when Frieren, she's like, look, perfect. It's just her little pigtails for Frieren. He's like, I didn't know you're bathing. I'm so sorry. Yes, I love, she's like, all done. Fern's like, look at how majestic I am with these pigtails. To be fair, if you've ever done pigtails, getting them even and symmetrical is not as easy as you think. So Fern has every right to be proud of that hairdo. Super cute. Also, it makes Frieren look like an angel in that moment. They look like angel wings. I'm sure Himmel has thought of that at some point. So they have this stew. It's just like garlic and onions and carrots. What can we do? But it's all right. It's better than nothing. And poor Stark, he's just kind of dejected because he feels like he's kind of, like Fern's getting onto him for sneaking up. He feels like he's not wanted and all that. And so I like that Frieren's like, wow, things are kind of awkward, aren't they? Stark's like, yeah, no shit. So they find an inn. I like that we had the Welch one way and neutral harbor as opposed to lawful good or chaotic evil harbor. The neutral harbor is the way to go. It makes me think it's like a trade passage where there's like no political like stoppings of people where you're from. It's just you can go to this harbor to travel. They did say it was a major highway. So then, well, if it isn't Frieren, well, if it isn't Werble. So we end up seeing Werble as well as Sharf, who's the guy with the black hair. And it's Air, right? Airy, I think it's Airy or Air. She's the girl in the pink hoodie. And they all decide to travel together, leaving. I don't know if you all know Tyke Kubo. He's the author of Bleach. He did a series before Bleach that was called, what was that series called? I want to look it up real quick. Tyke Kubo series. What was it called? It had a different name. Oh, I wish I could think of it's not Burn the Witch. It's the very first series that he had. Let me see here. First series. Oh, what is it? I need to know. Oh, Zombie Powder. Yes, Zombie Powder. There we go. I want to show you all a picture from Zombie Powder because this jacket that this character is wearing in Zombie Powder, I'm going to pull it up here in just a second if I can find the right one. Yes. Okay. So I'm going to show you all a picture of it that I've just found on the internet. So yes, that picture of Zombie Powder, it's probably been up there for a while as I've edited it. The main character of Zombie Powder, which was like a little pilot series that Tyke Kubo did, that jacket makes me think of Werble every time. It's that jacket. It looks just like it. So when I see Werble in this fringed out, like puffy jacket, I think of the character from Zombie Powder, the main guy. He also has white hair too. Maybe it was an influence. So yeah. So Werble is all like, hey Stark, remember when I told you that you could join us on the front lines? I'm glad this gets brought up now. So apparently there's some demons up in the north that are acting up and Frieren's like cracking her knuckles as we speak. Like, let's go. And he's like, I have to rush back to go help them and I'm going along with them. And he's like, aren't you a grown man? What are you doing? I love Stark being like, aren't you grown up? And he's like, look, I'm still in my 20s just for a little bit longer. I'm like, savor it. Savor them 20s, my friend. But yeah, so he brings up the offer again and Fern and Frieren are like, what offer? And he's like, look, if you came to support us for like 2 to 3 years, we could really use you on the front lines. We're kind of shorthanded. And you can immediately see that Fern is not about this. Fern's like, I didn't know about this. I don't want you to go. No, but she's not saying anything. And Frieren's like, I think Frieren knew all along that Stark wasn't going to go. But Frieren also knows that Stark and Fern need to talk to one another and sort things out. So she's like, you all will figure this out, right? Sure you will. Mm-hmm. And so he's like, I told you, Werble, I'm this party's frontliner. Good for him. Good for him. I love that. That's great. He's like, well, I don't give up easily. We're like, no, you do not, Werble. Werble's character really grew on me. I did not like him at the start of season 1 at all. And by the end of season 1, I was like, okay, I kind of dig him. And I really like him in this episode. He's super chill. He like, once the exam's over and they've all passed, I mean, then it's like, okay, we're all winners. So it reminds me, when I competed in college, I was in a competition, a competitive activity, and there were these people that I competed against, and we were all like cutthroat. We were cutthroat. Like every tournament we went to, it was like, I'm going to win, you're going to win, whatever. And then afterwards, we ended up being for a competition on the same team. And after that, we were all like, had achieved the same thing. And it was like, oh, we're besties now. And that's kind of the vibe I get from Werble. It's like, oh, we're friends now that we've all accomplished the same goal. It's like, well, that's not how it started, let me tell you. But I really like it. So he's like, do you mind if I persuade him a little? And Frieren's like, have at it. Which his version of persuasion is just, seriously, Stark, join our party as they get drunk. Luckily, what I'm glad about is that unlike other characters in this series, Stark is not easily persuaded over booze. I like that he still keeps his facilities and turns it down. Keeps his faculties, turns it down. And Frieren's like, Stark may be finding this party a little restrictive, so maybe he will go with them. And Fern's like, well, that's not acceptable. So I loved this scene where he's outside, like looking outside, and there's a little lantern. Again, we've talked about this in Orb on the Movements of the Earth, in Attack on Titan, in other series on this channel. But the concept of just lanterns and light being referenced to knowledge is just, it's so good. I love it. But yeah, so Fern joins him outside the inn. Oh, the lighting's so good in this scene. I really like it. And she's like, are you sure you don't want to go with them since you turned down the offer? And he's like, why do you think I joined this party? I love that he says, you think I joined because of Frieren? I joined because of you. I joined because you kept me from running away. I love it. He's like, I was at the end of my rope, ready to abandon the village and run away. He was going to do what Ison did, essentially. But he's like, I really suck, right? I love the contrast of the hands. Like the hands there that were all just cut and calloused and scraped up. And then he's like, Frieren said that she'd force me to join the party, but that's not what's happened at all. He's like, she came there and said, I don't think you'll run. And he looks back at his hand, which is still calloused, but all the scars of it, like the cuts have scarred over. He's like, you're the one that got me to join. You're the one that kept me from running. I wanted to travel and join you with your party. You may not realize it, but Frieren isn't the only one who dragged my cowardly butt this far. If that's not a love confession, I don't know what is. He's like, I'm not going anywhere. Shut up. I'm like, Fern, if you do not accept that as a confession, I don't know when you're waiting on it. That's pretty much it. That's so good. It's so good. And I love that her little smile there. And he's like, well, then be nicer to me. Because he's like, and then she's like, sure. What does she say there? She's like, okay. She's like, come here, I'll pet you. I don't know what the Japanese translation is. I'm assuming the Japanese translation might have been a little bit scandalous as well. Pet could be assumed in multiple faculties, multiple ways. Could refer to a head pat. Could also refer to something else. I'm assuming Stark thought of the something else. And he's like, what are you plotting? I'm scared. And she's like, oh, come on. I like that they end up with the lantern of information in between them in this scene. The symbolism there. But they're still in different doors. I'm like, this, you guys, this romance is going to be slow as molasses, isn't it? Isn't it? But it's all right. Meanwhile, look at Frieren in the floors. She's just... God, Frieren, she's like, my boyfriend's dead. I don't have to try anymore. Don't have to try anymore. Oh my God. Just so funny. And I love this moment where she has her hand on the bracelet and then she thinks back to as they were running and she was so scared because she couldn't do anything in that moment. She was literally relying on Stark and she had her hand over the bracelet, just trusting in him, hoping it would work. Look, I'm a sucker for romance. I'm a sucker for it. And I also love that these two have such love for each other, but it's unspoken. You don't even have to say it. It's so there already. I'm like, yes, please. So good. So good. And yeah. And so then they head off. They're like, well, couldn't convince him. I like these two geese are over in the corner, like just eavesdropping the whole time. And she's like, ocean travel's expensive. Can't afford that. And then Stark's like, well, my master's party traveled through the northern plateau, so we're just going to do the same thing they did. We're always accepting weird jobs and getting caught up in trouble and taking detours. And Frieren's like, that's just how we work. And Warble's like, well, it's impractical, but he's like, you do you. We'll see you then. I would love if this whole season was just them re-encountering all the people from the exam. If this 10 to 12 set episode, however long it ends up being, if it was just them re-encountering everybody, I would love that. I would love to see everybody again. What are they up to? What's going on? That would be awesome. And then they leave right where that offering was. We're back to where we started. On the trail. So, this ED is amazing. I love the like pencil sketch kind of quality of it. It's really good. It made me kind of emotional at the beginning. It really did. Himmel just writing. Once you realize that everything is just how Himmel sees Frieren, it's over. I'm like, oh my God. She just looks beautiful. And like he just saw her as the most beautiful being in the world. And then the light, like in the lantern, oh, and then her going on her way. I do love the butterfly metaphor because Frieren literally spent all that time with their hero party like a little caterpillar, like a magical mage caterpillar. And it wasn't until his death that she went into this chrysalis. And it wasn't until she met Fern that she emerged from the chrysalis as this butterfly. And the symbolism is just so good. I love it. But yeah. This was an amazing episode. I don't know about the dancers that were dancing around a circle and then became these witches. These Etsy witches. Gave me Frieren, gave me Tangled vibes, but her making the flower field, shut up. This was such a good episode. It feels so good to be back with Frieren. It feels so good to be back. I honestly, this show is such, I'm getting my dog's toy to throw here. It's such a comfort show. I love it so much. I'm so happy that we're back watching this now, and I've talked for 50 minutes about this episode. So I just, this show doesn't even have to try. The symbolism, everything about it, the show doesn't even have to try. It's just there. It's so good. So I'm sure that I've missed something, and I'm sure you're going to tell me about it below. As long as it's not a spoiler. Please, no spoilers. But if there's something with the symbolism or something here, or you want to comment and add a little bit more down below to what I talked about, I would love to hear it. Please let me know. But otherwise, it feels so good to be back. I love this series. It's so sweet. So, in any case, I hope that you all have an amazing week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, Wednesdays are going to be Frieren Wednesdays for the time being, and I'm super excited. So I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back next Wednesday with more of Frieren Beyond Journey's End. Bye.